if you were a new client, and like as in Duncan from 5 months ago, and you had one question that you think that would have most benefited you back then, what would it be?
That's a good question. Um, mm, that is really hard to limit down because I had a lot of questions. I remember even back then. A lot of them were centered around nutrition.
Well, shoot, you got
I
15 minutes. Let's go.
darn right. So initially, kind of the only things that I knew about health and fitness in general was calorie deprivation, burn more than you take in. But I didn't know how metabolism or anything like that applied to it. So I just assumed, well, genetically, I've always been a little tubby, which means maybe I just have a slow metabolism, which I guess was technically true. But I didn't know at the time that there are ways to increase your metabolism. So um, I guess the most important question for me at the time was, can I actually do this? And can you actually help me? Because, I mean, you and I have talked about before that I'd gotten into this rut where I just assumed that, again, familially or genetically, I was always going to be tubby. And I would never have the opportunity to get fit because, bad genes. So I think that's probably the first thing that I needed to understand was, yes, I can, and yes, you can help.
Let me pause you right there. What have you learned when you mentioned bad genes? What have you learned contrary of what you used to believe with that?
Oh, there you go again. Another big question. I guess I'll give as an example my ankles, or no, my knees. I've always been told my entire life that my family, oh, we just have bad joints. We have bad knees. And so again, that was a very limiting belief that I just assumed, okay, I guess I have bad knees and that's just how it'll always be. I'll always sound like a bowl of Rice Krispies when I get up out of the morning, snap, crackle, pop. But that was kind of one thing that a very big thing that you had told me was that with corrective exercise, it's going to take some work and some persistence, but you can actually correct kind of how your body has grown to sit just naturally, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
basically
that was,
how your structure is at rest.
yeah, yeah. See, that sounded smarter than how I said it. But the other thing that I really had learned was, or I guess I'm still learning, is about my relationship with food.
Hmm.
Because up until this point, anytime that I'd ever tried to go on a diet or fix my lifestyle or anything like that, it just involved kind of starving myself, actually. So you cut out the main things. Like I knew that inherently broccoli is more healthy than fried chicken, stuff like that. And I don't know, kale is more healthy than cake. So those kind of easy decisions were, again, easy. But then as far as like, how do I put it? Like how the food you eat translates into the kind of exercise or training that you are meant to do. That has been revolutionary for me because I remember telling you like a week ago that I had had a bad weekend and I plowed through the cake. It was the cake and the rice pudding, and there was something else, a waffle, something like that. And I kind of felt like crap because I thought, oh no, I've just shot my progress in the foot. I shouldn't have done that. I should have avoided the sweet things, which again, I still think I should. But you had a different approach and said, oh, we're just going to do strength training tomorrow. Oh, really? You mean me having, and again, I'm not saying that everyone should go out and eat cake, but I had thought that I had like had a major backsliding moment because of that. Because in my mind, you know, this is bad, this is good, and the lower amounts of food that you can eat, the better. Whereas again, sometimes with the protein intake that I've been doing kind of under your recommendation, I don't think I've ever eaten this much in my entire life. And yet my body seems to keep shaping down. So it's working.
Right. Yeah. So
I know that
is
was a lot.
it? Yeah. Well, no. I'm glad. Um, but so basically, you would tell your future self, do not fret over the small stuff, and just the utilize the things that you put inside you, no matter what it is, because you can use almost anything that you put inside you. Like, um, when it comes to the cake or the pasta, the lasagna that you ate with cake,
Oh, you
Yes,
remembered.
it wasn't it wasn't a great choice, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have calories that we can use. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Actually, that is a really good point. Is a really good point. And I guess that's just it. Is maybe I've also learned to be more cognizant of what food does to me. You actually said something a few weeks back that was revolutionary to me, so that I really need to detach. What was it like? Detach food intake from
Dopamine.
dopamine.
Yeah,
And
from the happy chemicals.
mhm.
And
And again, that was
like I
revolutionary
said, that
because
I actually lost a client when I said that once to somebody, and I don't think he quite understood what I meant. Uh, I meant the where it controls you like an addiction kind of thing.
oh,
Whereas
absolutely.
you need to view food as fuel first, because what you eat determines how you work out the next day. So
Mhm.
let's put it this way. Um, I ate primarily protein on Tuesday, very low carb, high water, high salt, and it was high protein, high fat. The next day, I'm not going to try to do a PR in powerlifting. I'm not, because I'm carb down. Okay. I like baseline every single day. You should have the same amount of protein. It reflects off your lean body weight per gram per pound. But so I'm mainly focused on that. And so it was a low calorie day for me. But what I can do with high protein in my system is a little bit of cardio, or go into a higher rep range in my reps, so that I can still have a muscle building signal, or I can use the deficit and really compound on top of that deficit, relying on the high protein as a blocker for a lowering metabolism signal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then the next day, I have high carbs and then the same amount of protein. I'm gonna go lift something heavy. I'm gonna go be like, okay, put it down. I'm done. And that's because the carbs can entirely control what kind of workout you're supposed to do. And
Hmm.
so, if you have that in your mind beforehand, before the exercise that you're doing, before the day before, that kind of can help guide you, like, all right, I should eat this way, or I should eat this way, because I'm expecting to have a strength day tomorrow with my workout with Tim. And so I should eat a good amount of carbs and make sure my protein's high. And the protein beforehand, before strength, I'd never want to say that you can be relaxed on protein, but if you ever were going to be relaxed on protein, it would be a day that is before strength day. And that's because it's more important the next day that you eat your protein with your carbs, but it's more important that you eat carbs before strength day.
Hmm.
Now, it's more important that you eat high protein following, or with the following day being a high cardio day, because you need that signal, that defense against the lowering metabolism. You don't want to lose muscle while you're trying to long distance run. Does that make sense? So
Hmm.
it's just a give and take on the two different ones. What's your thoughts on that?
I think, like you were saying, the give and take, that's something that was really new to me. Again, my main approach was just eat healthy foods, which again I had a vague concept of that, like green things and boiled chicken, that's healthy. But the idea of specific foods being directed towards specific activities or training styles or modalities, I think, is that the right word? Did I
Yeah,
say a smart thing?
yeah, modalities.
Yay! I said the right word. Cool. But I think that was what I'm still very much I'm still learning about. But it's the idea, like you were saying, about food being fuel. And how do I put it? Like using your, I really can't think of the word. I have like a really good vocabulary. It's probably a really simple word that I can't think of. No. Screw it. Like targeting. Choosing your diet to target specifically what you need it to do the next day. That was always, or that has been revolutionary for me. Um, yeah.